New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
New Thought Media Network is excited to present Divine Science Everywhere, Fridays at 2 p.m. Mountain Time and 4 p.m. Eastern. Come explore a modern experience of divine science with Reverend Joy Fletcher, Reverend Jeff Radcliffe, and Bishop Durrell Watkins. Join us as we open our eyes to divine science everywhere we look. Fridays on New Thought Media Network.
Welcome, and divine science is everywhere we look. Welcome to Divine Science Everywhere on New Thought Media Network, where we feature guests such as divine science ministers and other New Thought guests as we discuss divine science principles and practice. I'm Reverend Joy Fletcher, and we're so happy that you could join us today. Some of the ways that I express my ministry is as the president of the Divine Science Minister Association and as a hospice bereavement coordinator, and also as a speaker and an author. And with me today is Reverend Jeff Radcliffe of Giotti Ministries, and he also is a member of Divine Science Ministers Association and Divine Science Federation International. And Bishop Durrell Watkins, the senior minister of Sunshine Cathedral and the president of Divine Science Federation International. Our guest today is Reverend Dr. John Waterhouse, and we will speak with him in a few moments. So we'd like to begin the hour with a centering moment. So first I would like to read some information, some thoughts of one of our co-founders, Nona Brooks. And she wrote in the book, Short Lessons in Divine Science. We love to speak of it, meaning omnipresence, as God, the Father, infinite mind, source, cause, principle. In fact, it makes little difference what name we use. The vital matter is that we understand this presence and live in the consciousness of it. So let's get quiet for a few moments. Let's take a few conscious breaths and inhale gently and exhale gently. Let your shoulders drop. Let your thoughts settle. And concentrate on turning inward to that sweet presence of peace. Toward that presence that fills all. That presence that is in all, through all, as all. This presence is never separate from us. It doesn't have to be summoned, and it doesn't need our words for it to exist. It simply is everywhere, within us, through us, around us, and expresses as us. We may call it God. We may call it infinite mind. Some call it love or principle or source. And again, these names matter not. What matters is that we know it. What matters is that we feel it. What matters is that we consciously live in the awareness of this. So allow yourself to feel this presence right here, right now. At the center of your being, there is a stillness and there is an aliveness, a sacredness that is not a thing at all. It just is. It is presence. It is life itself. It is the presence that fills all. It is not limited by walls or boundaries, roles or conditions. It flows through breath, through thought, through every heartbeat. It radiates as light in every cell and every fiber and every aspect of your being. It moves as wisdom and divine order through your mind and your thoughts. It is peace that is there. Peace that is there. And it is also joy unfolding from within. It is beauty. It is compassion. It is grace. It is wholeness. And this presence is not outside you because it is your true nature. You are not created apart from it. You are created from it. So just simply rest for a moment in this quiet realization that we live and move and have our being in this omnipresence, in the infinite. As we deepen our awareness of this presence, we begin to notice its qualities awakening in us. A deep and patient wisdom, a love that holds no condition, a calm that is not disturbed by outer noise. There is nowhere this presence is not. There is no moment in which it does not flow. So as we breathe here, right now, we affirm gently, the presence that fills all fills me. The presence that fills all fills this moment. The presence that fills all is the truth of who I am. And from this sacred awareness, we remember we are never alone. We are never separate. We are never without the guidance, goodness, and light that is ours by our very nature. know that this truth is always, always near, closer than breath, closer than thought, forever indwelling, surrounding, embracing. And as I know this about myself, I also know this about others. So remembering, you are the expression of the infinite. You are filled with a presence that fills all. And so it is. And so it shall be forever. So thank you for sharing this time of centering with me. And Bishop Durrell, would you like to take over?
I have some stuff to talk about, some people actually. We like to give a little, we have our centering moment, and we have a little history, particularly about our divine science luminaries, also some other New Thought people sometimes. And we've got 4 today. And first off, I want to tell you a little something about Vernon Shields. Now, if you've been in divine science for a long time, you probably know about Vernon. We've read a lot of his, if you get the daily lesson in your email from Divine Science, and I hope you do. It's free. It's every single day of the year. And if you don't get it and you would like it, just email Kevin at sunshinecathedral.net and tell him you want on the list to get the daily Divine Science study, and you'll just be getting it from now on. And once you start getting that, you'll notice that a lot of those reflections are by a guy named Vernon Shields. He was born in 1920. He made his transition in 2011, so he was with us even pretty recently. Dr. Vernon Shields spent 31 years as the minister of the First Divine Science Church in Minneapolis, and his life was dedicated to teaching principles of spiritual growth and positive living. Through his ministry, Dr. Shields inspired people to embrace their inner power and connect with the divine, leaving a lasting legacy of wisdom and compassion. Now, when you're talking about being one with the one power, the one life, the one presence, being a demonstration of, an incarnation of, a manifestation of the one, living in that realization and therefore living in peace and power and joy, you should be able to attach that very biography to every divine scientist, every unity minister, every religious scientist, every Church of Truth person. But there are some that for whom it was particularly evident, and they taught it so well that it did become evident in other people's lives, and Vernon Shields is one of those people. Next on our list, this one may actually surprise you. I want to tell you about Elizabeth Sarah Lamb. Now, literary people, English people, they're going to know Elizabeth Sarah Lamb. She was born in 1917. She died in 2005. And she was a prominent American poet and a key figure in the development of haiku in the West. She's often referred to as the first lady of American haiku. Her work emphasized capturing moments of profound simplicity and natural observation. Through her writing, editing, and tireless advocacy, Lamb significantly contributed to the recognition and appreciation of haiku as a serious literary form, leaving an enduring impact on the genre. That part, any nerd knows, any humanities person knows, any English person knows, any poet knows. What you may not know is that Lamb wrote several spiritual articles for divine science publications. She was a de facto divine scientist. And if you got a whiff of her spirituality in her poetry, now you know why. And she actually worked with divine science. The next person on our list, I believe he's come up a time or two already, but his birthday was just a couple of days ago, July 30th, and that is Emmett Fox. He was born in 1886 and died in 1951. He was a divine science minister. A lot of people thought he was a unity minister. And in fact, he tried to be, but they wanted him to go through their their training program, and he was already established metaphysician, so he didn't want to do that. And Nona Brooks wasted no time in snatching him up, waving the wand over him, and ordaining him as a divine science minister, and which was very good for divine science, good for him, good for the city of New York, good for Alcoholics Anonymous. It was just good for a lot of folks. At least this may be apocryphal, but it is said that one of Charles Fillmore's few regrets in life was that he did not do what Nona did and just snatch up Emmett when he had the chance. He was a writer, wrote a lot of books, still available, most of them. And while he was alive, he addressed some of the largest audiences ever gathered up to that time to hear one person's thoughts on the religious meaning of life. He followed W. John Murray as the minister of the Church of the Healing Christ in New York, who founded that church, Murray, and we'll hear about him some other day. But he was a Roman Catholic priest who became a divine scientist, started the church in New York, and then right behind him came Emmett. He's thought to have influenced Norman Vincent Peale. He was popular in the early days of the AA movement. His works, one in particular, was very instrumental in those early meetings. And Fox wrote, "The universe is run exactly on the lines of a cafeteria. Unless you claim mentally what you want, you may sit and wait forever." So he's sort of the inventor, I guess, of cafeteria-style metaphysics, and we love that. Now, the reason people did associate him with Unity is because Unity published a lot of his pamphlets and brochures, and so he did seem to he worked with them quite a bit after all. And then finally, our last person I want to tell you about, much more contemporary, is Anne Kuneth. In fact, probably everyone on this call met her and knew her. Anne Kuneth was born in 1932, and she made her transition in 2021, very recently. Now, if you know about divine science, you are certainly aware of such luminaries as Melinda Kramer, the movement's founder, and Nona Brooks, a secondary founder and primary leader after Melinda's death. Fanny James, Nona's sister and sort of the systematic theologian of the early divine science movement. Emmett Fox, writer, speaker, we just talked about him. His New York City congregation was one of the largest religious audiences under one roof in the U.S. during the Great Depression. You may know about Erwin Gregg, one of the founders of the Divine Science Federation that I now that I'm featured with and known with. And then, of course, Joseph Murphy, writer of The Power of Your Subconscious Mind. He was also religious science. He was another one who fished in a couple of ponds. Well, another name that you should add to your list of divine science giants is Anne Kuneth. Anne had been mentored by famous New Thought teacher Catherine Ponder. Anne Kuneth was also a founder in her own right. In 1998, she founded the United Divine Science Ministry School, and she also led her own church in San Antonio. Now, United Divine Science is the divine science branch that ordained me and that ordained the person who ordained Reverend Jeff in divine science. She named her ministry United Divine Science to unite the teachings of the various founders, Kramer and the Brooks sisters. The Brooks branch of divine science had become dominant, and Anne wanted to renew awareness and interest in the original founder, Melinda Kramer. So rather than sort of compete with the others, she just united them and said, this is all divine science, and let's learn about all of it. United Divine Science eventually joined the Divine Science Federation, and the ministry school would later be led by Reverend Dr. Christopher Bazemore. It still is. And the late Reverend Cindy Lippert was mentored by Anne, and she helped Anne in the early days of the ministry school. I'm particularly proud that divine science was founded by women, and the work to renew interest in its original founder was spearheaded by a woman, Anne Kuneth. Well, those are our luminaries for the week, our little bit of divine science history. It's always fascinating to me. We're going to get right to our world-renowned New Thought leader guest in just a moment. But first, we need this brief break. We are Divine Science Everywhere with the New Thought Media Network.
New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment. Inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
Welcome back to Divine Science Everywhere. I'm Reverend Jeff Radcliffe, and along with Reverend Joy Fletcher and Bishop Darrell Watkins, we are so honored today to have as our guest the Reverend Dr. John Waterhouse. Reverend John and his late wife, Reverend Barbara, have been long-distance teachers for me for several years. And I told them this story at the International New Thought Alliance Congress in 2019 when it was in Nashville. I don't know if you remember, Reverend John, but I sent, there was one time I was on the church website and I noticed the donate button. So I clicked on the donate button, sent off a few bucks and thought that was that until a few days later when I got this really wonderful handwritten note from Dr. Barbara telling me that I was the very first person to donate to the center using the donate button on the website. So I don't know if you remember that or not, but and I treasure that. The note's still here, and I treasure it. One of my favorite stories about Divine Science founder Melinda Kramer is how one day she was called to someone's house to pray for them. Person was healed, got to recovery. Other people heard about it and they asked her, they said, well, what was wrong with this person? What was their issue? And Melinda said, I neither saw nor named disease. And that tells me that she focused her mind on the health and well-being of her client and she didn't waver it. And the part that messes people up, I know that it's a long path of learning and understanding for myself as well. We know that we should be focused on what we desire in our lives and not on the things that we don't. Well, we say we know that. And it's easy for me to give a prayer treatment for someone. And I've gotten a lot of reports that they've gotten what it is that they needed. And I think it's because I pray for them and then I just kind of forget about it. But they're not, in my sphere of activity during the day, every day, like I myself am. So here's my question to you, Reverend John. It's not so easy to hold on to the truth that we are perfect, whole, and complete, and whether it's a physical illness or it's a financial situation or it's a relationship problem. We know what we need to focus on. We're not always good at it. So how do you know truth without backsliding into the thinking that may have contributed to the condition in the first place? Like I know with Reverend Barb and the challenges she faced toward the end of her life, how were you able to know the truth of her physical health while seeing the facts that tried to dissuade you to think otherwise?
All I had to do was look into her eyes, and I knew the truth of her. That was the nature of our relationship. So her body may have been faltering, but she was totally present. I knew who she was. She knew who she was. And that was not the issue. I mean, she had a stroke in 2019 and passed in my arms 2.5 years later. And she was never anything less than the perfect spiritual being that she was, even though her body didn't agree. I call it an exit strategy, and we're all going to leave. And many of us will go through some kind of a health challenge in that process. So that's just part of who we are. And if we think as metaphysicians that we can stop that process, we're wrong. That's a natural process that has to happen. What we can do is we can deal with health conditions and in many other ways along the path. And I'm very active in doing that with a lot of people. So, but I make that distinction that we all have that process of exiting this life and dropping that human body that we picked up at birth. And it's okay. It's part of the process. So nobody's wrong for doing that. And we have to honor their path. And Barbara never asked for me to treat for her to not leave. I wouldn't know how to do that anyway. But that was part of our understanding. So sometimes you just have to know. And other times, people go through health crises and you can know the truth of them and the thing turns around. I had a woman call me 2 days ago. She had actually called me about a month ago and asked me to do a healing prayer for her, which I did. She had some kind of a growth up in her sinuses and was told by a physician or a surgeon that he would have to actually slice her face open and go through in a way that because he couldn't see it if he just went up through her nostrils. And she was terrified. And I said, of course you're terrified. That's an awful thing to have to face. I said, but let's not do that. So in knowing the truth for her and seeing that this was going to be easy, she would heal quickly, and everything about it was going to happen in a way that supported her health and wholeness, she accepted that and called me 2 days ago to tell me that the doctor was totally shocked that once he reviewed the situation again, he said, no, I can get this through your nostril. We don't have to cut your face open. And she was ecstatic. And those kinds of things we can do very clearly. But when it comes to life and death, I don't like to get in people's way. And I've had plenty of people call me and tell me somebody was in an accident, they're in critical condition, pray that they recover. And I have an ethic that won't allow me to do that. If that's their path, why am I interfering? So there's a delicate dance that I see us go through with that. And some people believe that you can do spiritual mind treatment or affirmative prayer for anybody under any circumstance, even if they haven't asked for it. But I want to be asked. I want to know that there's an alignment going on in that. And when there is, and I have that agreement, I'll do that work and the result will show it.
I think in a lot of ways, people kind of get praying for a cure and praying for a healing mixed up. Because healing comes when we change our mind about the situation. The cure comes when the disease or whatever it is gone. So I think there's a little bit of a confusion there between the two.
You're on it. In fact, in Science of Mind, when we test someone to be a practitioner, when we give them their written test, one of the questions on the test reads like this. The patient was healed. The patient died. Explain. Because it was their psyche that was healed.
Yeah.
Their fear of death that was healed.
Yeah.
Their clear path was made open to them, and they moved through it. And I think that's elegant.
That was very helpful in the AIDS years for people.
Yes.
During the crisis, for people to hear that their loved ones left this world whole. They left sooner than they wanted them to, but they left whole.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's very true. Thank God for everybody that worked through that, the work that Louise Hay did and all the others.
My first ministry was as an AIDS chaplain in the 90s.
Wow.
Yeah, I had done, I did 100 funerals in 3 years before I was 30 and never of anyone over the age of 50. It was a very strange way to grow up.
Yes.
And powerful.
But you did grow up, didn't you?
Yeah, I sure do. I grew up and even old. So we're getting there. I want to ask you, Doctor, and then I'm going to be out of the way because it's hard to be asked questions by a lot of people. So I'm going to do mine and get out of the way. You were the first president of the new CSL when the family reunited. You have led and even started centers. You were even the dean of a Holmes Center, one of the seminary extensions for the.
Yes.
So leadership is sort of your bread and butter, and it just so happens you have a PhD in organizational psychology. Which came first? Were you interested in organizational leadership and then so studied and did it, or did you sort of find yourself doing it and thought, well, I need to learn more about it? Which came first? Your training for it or your doing of it?
I lived in the mid 1980s. I actually ran away from home and moved to Sydney, Australia, thinking that was as far away from here as I could get. I had my wife at the time had left me and taken my son and brought him back to South Florida. We were living in Texas, and I had the choice of following or going the other way. So I chose to run away. But I found my first spiritual teacher in Sydney and stayed there a year and learned so much. You wouldn't call him New Thought. In fact, his background was Zen Buddhism and Scientology. But still, I learned a great deal and came back to Miami after that to deal with the situation with my son. And it took me 3 days to find my first religious science church. I walked in, I'd driven by that building thousands of times in my life, never noticed it. But I saw the sign that said Science of Mind, pulled in, went in the office. A woman came out from the back and I said, "What's Science of Mind?" And she told me something I don't remember. But she asked me to come. So I did. On Sunday, I sat in the front row and I was there for the next 5 years. And the woman that came out from the back, her name was Barbara. Mm-hmm. So the first religious scientist I ever met, I married. Mm-hmm. And it was the best move I ever made in my entire life. So Science of Mind came first. Okay. Metaphysics came first. It was much later. In fact, we had moved to North Carolina, married and moved to North Carolina before I even approached the idea of getting a PhD. My undergraduate work was in psychology, and having the opportunity to study it at a greater level and apply it. I've always been kind of someone that got into leadership, even when I was in high school. So it became pretty natural to me. If you know the Myers-Briggs type indicators, I'm an ENTJ, and the description of that is you're a leader. And so I've kind of surrendered to that throughout my career, and end up sometimes I have to just bite my tongue really hard not to say, okay, I'll lead this and give other people a chance. But all in all, no, the metaphysics came first and helped me brilliantly in studying organizational psychology.
Awesome.
And while I've got a moment of silence here, I just want to add, Bishop Durrell, that I expected on your list today to be someone else that was an ordained minister of divine science. His name is Ernest Holmes.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
Agnes Gaylor, divine scientist, ordained him, and his brother Fenwick always was. Even though he helped with religious science and with Sekonoe, he actually was part of that same church that we mentioned earlier in New York, as was Albert Grier. I mean, that got all the superstars. But yeah,
there's lovely incestuous things that happened in the early days of New Thought.
I love it so much.
I love it.
That sparks a question for me, if you don't mind. I have probably more religious science friends than any other New Thought truth friends. It's just the way it is. It's a bigger organization. There are more people in it.
And clearly you're very discerning, Reverend Jeff.
Thank you. So explain to me, if you can, why they've got Ernest up on a pedestal and kind of sort of, I notice a lot of religious science people, a lot of science of mind people kind of neglect to mention that he was ordained with us before he started doing his own thing. And I'm very possessive of it because, divine science, we are, the oldest organized New Thought organization,
yes,
but we're also the smallest and the least well-known. So I'm very protective of pulling Ernest back toward our ranks. Why do you suppose that
we're proud of it?
Religious science seems to have downplayed that?
Well, I can't speak for the movement. I've never downplayed it. I'm glad to tell people that. We're all in this together. And even though if you want to pick at it, you can find nuanced differences between the way we experience our metaphysics. We're all doing the same thing. Boy, if you're Lutheran or Episcopalian, we all look exactly the same. Mm-hmm. So I embrace that we are all one. It's easier to do it right here. I couldn't understand why there were two organizations in religious science. That made no sense to me. Barbara, my first minister, and her previous husband, Tony Bonacorso, were both from our Religious Science International, but yet that church in Miami was part of United Church of Religious Science. So they were on opposite ends of that situation. And I've studied that whole thing, and I made it my quest to bring them back together. And that's exactly, in fact, it's amazing how life plays that game. Mm-hmm. And in that I ran for spiritual leader of our organization. Oh golly, I don't even remember what year that was. Maybe 2009. And I'm guessing maybe it was earlier than that. But I ran for spiritual leader and was not elected. And I ran with the idea that I would bring the two organizations back together. But what actually happened was immediately after that election, we had a minister named Nirvana Gale, who was asked to lead a group of people to meet with the Religious Science International group and just to start talking. And he told the spiritual leader that he would do that if I could be on his team. And so they got permission for me to do that. And we had an amazing time getting to know one another and reestablishing that. At one of the meetings, someone said to me one time, tell us the history of the breakup. It's, so historical. And I laughed and said, it's not historical when a spiritual movement breaks into fractions or factions. It's not. It's historical when they come back together.
Yeah.
And that's what we were doing.
Yeah.
So that was the direction I had with it and the work that I did in those years.
Isn't it unique though that RSI and United, that their disagreement was more administrative than philosophical?
Completely.
Like they agreed with everything that mattered.
Come in and assess both organizations, and the assessment was, you guys are teaching exactly the same thing. There's no distinction. The only difference is your structure of your organizations. And so that's what we spent the better part of 4.5 years moving through, is figuring out how to do it. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that came up, of course, the big one was education. People were saying that you will never be able to make this work because they're so different the way you identify ministers. And so my take on it was that United was overeducating and RSI was probably undereducating, but they were finding the unique gifts in these people that became ministers. So a lot of RSI ministers were great speakers. They were natural speakers. And the people in United, probably not at that same level, but they had other skills. So what I said was, we're going to let everybody in. Everybody comes together. It doesn't matter. And then we'll create a path into ministry that everybody can agree to. And we did. And it basically went more like United. But actually, they went back and said, okay, or we went back and said, okay, if you want to teach ministers in the Socratic method in your community, we're going to give that a try again, as well as a secondary way. The only ministers that signed up for that were United ministers. So it was quite fascinating to see how the impossible is actually achieved.
Well, if RSI and United Church could get together and do this, what do you think the chances are of uniting the major branches of our New Thought system? I mean,
I think someday that could be a real thing to do. I know that we had conversations with Unity. They were surface level, but at least there was that idea there that maybe there was a way to bring it together. And I'm sure that had we pursued that harder and made progress with it, that Divine Science would have gotten a call.
I think INTA might be a way to make that happen, since they're already all working together in that organization. But there was something in INTA 100 years ago where they decided we will not ordain people. Like they wanted it to be what it is, and that's great. But since everybody's all working together anyway in INTA, I wonder if that couldn't be an avenue.
Well, there may have been a day for that when INTA was in its heyday. I don't know about now. There was other people that thought that Anton might be the way.
Yes.
So, and so those were both organizations, but those are all loose affiliations. People come and go. So there's nothing that really binds them what does bind all of us, obviously, is our love for the metaphysical way of experiencing the divine.
Mm-hmm.
And when we talk about that, I think we're much, much closer and alike than we are different. So perhaps, Reverend Jeff, that will happen someday. We could certainly hold that thought and believe that that's a possibility.
I just consider that seed planted. Now let's
Good deal. And I'll put some water and fertilizer on it.
Reverend Joy, you've been quiet.
Well, we haven't given her space to talk.
That's right.
Jump right in.
I will right now. I'm interested in a little bit about your books, 5 Steps to Freedom, an Introduction to Spiritual Mind Treatment, and the Sorry Syndrome, How to Learn from Missteps Without Apologizing.
Both are
I'll be glad to
excellent.
talk about those. I wrote 5 Steps to Freedom because there was no primer for teaching spiritual mind treatment. There was some curriculum, but there wasn't actually a book that someone could buy to learn how to do spiritual mind treatment. And I believe in that. I didn't at first. When I first showed up and Barbara was teaching me spiritual mind treatment in a class of 100 down in Miami, my first thought was, I have to learn 5 steps and I have to do them in order. Oh no, that's too much work. But I acquiesced to that pretty quickly when I figured out how it could actually change your life. So I wrote that book, and it's now required reading in our movement for anybody that wants to come in, especially someone on a track to become a practitioner of religious science. So that I think is doing its work still to this day. The other book was kind of a pet project. Another passion that I have is that for over a decade, I was the apprentice of a Cherokee shaman, a wonderful man named Will Rocking Bear, who lived up in the mountains of Western North Carolina. His Earth Green Medicine Lodge was at the base of Mount Mitchell, which is the largest peak east of the Mississippi. And through a series of events, I had the opportunity to work with Rocking Bear, as did Barbara. And we would go up to his lodge every Thursday night, 7 o'clock. We would have a circle that would discuss native concepts and truly truth in general. And we learned many things from this sage shaman. And one night we were sitting in circle and somebody said they were sorry. Well, we all say we're sorry, don't we? And what Rocking Bear said at that moment was, do you know what that means? And the person said, tell me. I leaned in because I wanted to hear this too. He said, when you tell someone you're sorry, you're saying that you're uncomfortable with how they're dealing with something that you did and that you wish they'd stop it. And you'll probably do it again. And it just would not leave me alone. I mean, I put that away for a while, but it kept working on me. So I finally said, the only way I'm going to deal with this is to actually write a book about it. So I did. I did my research and looked at different aspects of that, the cultural implications, the origins of the words sorry and apology, and realized that they really don't work. And the biggest problem with them is that if we say them, we don't learn anything. We put ourselves down because saying I'm sorry is like saying I'm worthless. And actually the original meaning of apology is to argue for your position.
Yes.
You know that. That's wonderful.
In religion, apologetics is basically a defense of what you already believe.
That's what it means. So neither of those ideas work.
I never connected that before, that apology and apologetics and sorry. Oh my God, that's enlightening.
It's all part of the same mess. So what I did was I came up with an idea of how we could do this differently. And it requires some courage. But we're always going to have missteps. That's part of life. We're going to do things that offend somebody. So the easy way to do it, if you bump somebody in line or you do something just inadvertent like that, rather than saying you're sorry, say, please forgive me. Because that's really what you want anyway. But if it's a more serious situation where somebody, is really struggling with what you said or did, what you do is you look straight into their eyes and say, yes, I did this. Tell me what happened for you so I really get what my actions created. And let them tell you and deal with it. Look at it. Think about it and learn from it, which is the key.
Right.
And tell them what you've learned so that you can begin to take that commitment not to do it to anyone else. And if we can do that, we'll learn and we'll get stronger and clearer as we live our lives rather than going, oh, I'm sorry. And how about the line, well, I said I was sorry, as though that means something.
Right.
So it made for a good project for me.
So those are good teasers.
And because we're talking about books, I'll tell you that I'm in the midst right now of writing another book. It's called Spirits Awakening. And it's really about my life. And what I've done is I'm writing, I guess you would call it my memoirs, but I'm writing about my experience of awakening and the different things that have happened progressively through my life. And at the end of each chapter, I write a section on awareness, on how anyone can become aware of themselves more deeply going through this. And the idea of awakening is that we create a profound awareness of something that we can shift in our lives to make our lives better.
Get it written, get it done, so that we can.
I'm on chapter 10 because it's a linear story of my life. It's coming out pretty quick, and it'll be available before the end of the year.
All right,
those are good teasers for books that exist and for one that's coming up. But say their names of the two that are already out there. Say their names clearly for us so that people can, because they're going to want them now.
Okay. All right. 5 Steps to Freedom and The Sorry Syndrome. And they're both available on Amazon.
And for those who have not read them, they are awesome.
Oh, bless you. Thank you, Reverend Jeff.
I'm a big fan. I'm a Waterhouse fan, both yours and Reverend Barbara. So yeah,
the 5 steps
I'm
is on.
Looking forward to this.
The 5 steps is on the reading list for Samaritan students. Our program's a little different. There's a lot, and then you can choose from, but that's on the list you can choose from.
Well, I'm honored to know that.
So.
Thank you.
Well, we will. It's time for another break. In fact, our last break. So we're going to take another minute away. We'll come back. We'll wrap up. Last questions, last statements. Reverend Joy always has some things to tell us about. But first, we got to remind people that we are Divine Science Everywhere, and this is the New Thought Media Network.
New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
New Thought Media Network is excited to present Divine Science Everywhere, Fridays at 2 p.m. Mountain Time and 4 p.m. Eastern. Come explore a modern experience of divine science. With Reverend Joy Fletcher, Reverend Jeff Radcliffe, and Bishop Durrell Watkins. Join us as we open our eyes to divine science everywhere we look. Fridays on New Thought Media Network.
Welcome back. Welcome back. I'd like to tell you that next Friday, August 8th, our guest will be Reverend Dr. Bill Marcioni. And the following week is Reverend Dr. Temple Hayes. That's the 15th of August. So lots of exciting things. And thank you, Dr. John, today. I really enjoyed it. And the hour, as always, has flown by. It's just wonderful that you could join us, and I'm going to look into your books. It's the first
Thank
time
you.
Yes.
I've had a great time. This is fun. Y'all are great to be with.
You've been very kind to answer our questions. Is there anything you just want to say that we didn't think to ask, but you want us to know, we need to know?
Oh, I got to pitch my book. What more?
And you think it is coming up this year?
That's my plan on my outcomes for 2025 that I read every day. It says it comes out this year. So I'm holding to that. I read that out loud so I can hear it.
Okay, so we need a commitment from you that you will come back once the book is out.
Oh, I would love
100%.
to do that. That would be great fun.
Right. That sounds wonderful. I read that Terry Cole Whitaker ordained you, and how exciting. That's a luminary in religious science, and I love the title of her book. What you think of me is none of my business. I love that. So we just have a few moments. What are some things that she did or she demonstrated that influenced you in your ministry?
We're talking about Terry?
Yes.
Terry used to call Barbara and me her kids.
Oh,
We had this wonderful relationship. She was a dynamo. The woman had energy that was just phenomenal, and she had a personal great impact on Barbara. Barbara would watch her every Sunday when her syndicated television show was on. Before she would watch it on Sunday morning before she gave her own talk. So I'm sure she had probably more influence over Barbara than any minister in the movement. She was so uplifting and so present, and being in the world of television at the time that she was, I'm sure it took its toll because the pressures of such things back then, and probably even now, can be incredible. That's why I'm sure she left it at some point, that it just got out of hand. With so many people trying to do so many things and such, she said, I'm going to go hang in an ashram in India for a while. So she just set it down and went away, which you've got to admire as well, because some people think, oh no, I have to do it. It's bringing in so much money and touching so many lives, I can't stop, but you can stop. In fact, I've always said, if you can't say no, how good is your yes? Mm-hmm. So I always held Terry, I don't know if you're aware of it, but Terry passed away a few months ago. And
October?
That could be right. Yeah. Could have been last October. I know that she touched a lot of lives over the years. And even after leaving Science of Mind, leaving religious science, the organization, they welcomed her back. We all welcomed her back and gave her a doctorate. So, it was just, she was one of those high profile people that can really touch your life. And she certainly touched Barbara's and mine. And she saw something in us to support us in that way. So it was a lovely relationship.
Well, as many people as obviously would have missed seeing her, on television when she took her time away. I'm not going to begrudge you your time away, but you don't know how much I miss seeing you on video.
Mm. Well, here's another little secret. I'm starting a podcast.
Okay.
With a colleague that now lives down in Mexico. He has asked me to join him. And we're actually having a meeting this evening to talk about names and some other aspects of this podcast world, which he happens to have a lot of experience in. I have zero. I mean, I've been on podcasts, but their inner workings is far beyond my consciousness right now. I guess I'll learn along the way like you all have.
Yeah.
Yes, that's how it's been.
Yes.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you
I'm
so much.
so delighted. You guys are great.
Yes. We really appreciate sharing your time with us. Thank you.
It's been delightful.
Yes. So until next week, we're grateful that you joined us and keep joining us. And
Like and share.
Yes, like and share. And also, this is Divine Science Everywhere on New Thought Media Network. Bye-bye.
Bye.